If you have been searching mobile game user retention benchmarks for 2026, you have probably seen the genre charts and still walked away unsure what to do with them. You open your dashboard on a Monday, watch most of last week's new players fail to come back, and the benchmark table says nothing about why. This video fixes that. By the end, you will know where the retention curve actually breaks, what to fix at each break, and the one lever most studios never touch. And the number worth sitting with is this. You pay for every install the moment it happens, but the value only arrives if the player stays. Day 1 retention is about 27% in 2025. That means roughly 3 out of 4 players you paid to acquire are gone within a day, before they ever spend a cent or watch a single ad. The curve breaks at 3 predictable points: Day 1, Day 7 and Day 30. And we start with Day 1 because it is the drop most studios blame on the wrong thing. Day 1 is where the first session lives, and it is where most studios misread the problem. They see the drop and they immediately rebuild the tutorial. Sometimes that is the fix. Often the real cause showed up earlier, in a first minute that never told the player what the game actually is. A player who finishes the first session confused has no reason to open the app again tomorrow. And onboarding is not a small lever here. StriveCloud found that good onboarding can lift retention by up to 50%. The version that works lets the player control an interactive tutorial instead of tapping through a static walkthrough they forget by the next screen. Give them a real reward inside that first session, something they feel they earned. Hold the notification permission prompt until after they have felt one win, because asking on the loading screen trains them to say no. Get the first session right and you stop losing players who were never going to reach your best content. The ones who survive Day 1 run into a completely different problem by the end of the week. By Day 7, the tutorial is long forgotten, and the question becomes whether the game still gives them a reason to play. Two things break here: difficulty and depth. Difficulty is the faster killer. Molstad reported that about 60% of players quit games that get too hard too quickly. The mechanism is plain. A wall the player cannot pass with the skills the game taught them reads as unfair, and unfair is the moment they close it and forget it. Dynamic difficulty adjustment quietly tunes the challenge to the player in front of it, so a struggling player gets a gentler curve and a strong one stays challenged. Checkpoint-based progression means failing a hard stretch costs them a minute of replay instead of an hour. The second break is depth. A player who has seen everything the game offers by Day 5 has nothing pulling them back on Day 7. Seasonal events, time-limited challenges, and a second game mode give the returning player something new to open the app for. Fix the week and you have a player worth keeping. The real test starts around Day 30. Day 30 is a different game because the players still around have already decided they like it, and the job shifts from keeping them to winning back the ones who drifted. This is where re-engagement earns its budget. A player who installed, played for a week and went quiet is far cheaper to bring back than a stranger you have never paid for. StriveCloud found that re-engaged players generate 37% more revenue events in their first month back than newly acquired users do. The reason is straightforward. They already know the game, so there is no second onboarding to survive. The way to reach them is behavior-driven push, tied to what they actually did, so a player who stalled at a specific level gets a message about that level instead of a generic comeback plea. Segment before you retarget, because a whale and a one-session installer need completely different offers. Give the win-back offer a clock on it, so there is a reason to act today. Do that across the month and the curve flattens instead of falling to zero. And there is one lever underneath all three of these points that almost nobody touches. Everything so far happens after the install. The height the whole curve starts from is set before it, by the creative that brought the player in. Think about it from the player's side. An ad that shows fast, satisfying gameplay pulls in someone expecting fast, satisfying gameplay. If your actual first session is a slow tutorial, that player churns on Day 1, no matter how good the onboarding is, because the game broke a promise the ad made. Most studios never see this because they judge creatives on installs and cost per install, two numbers that say nothing about whether those installs stay. This is the gap Segwise sits in. It connects to your ad networks and your MMP, and its multimodal AI tags every element of every creative. The hooks, the gameplay footage, the characters, the on-screen text, and it is the only platform that tags playable ads. which for a mobile game is where a lot of the promise gets made. Then it maps those tags to real outcomes, including custom events pulled from AppsFlyer or Adjust, like tutorial completion or level 10 reached. So you can finally see which creative styles bring in players who actually progress past the first session. Its fatigue detection flags a creative whose quality is sliding before the budget behind it burns. That turns retention from something you only measure after the fact into something you can shape before a player ever installs. The single change that separates studios with flat retention curves from studios watching players leak away is this: stop grading your creatives on installs and start grading them on whether those installs are still there on day 7. The benchmarks tell you where you stand. The first session, the weekly content, and the win-back offers tell you what to fix once players are in. And the creative that acquired them decides who walks in the door in the first place. Try Segwise for free, connect your ad networks in a few minutes, and see which of your creatives are bringing in the players who actually stay.